They're wonderful. It's like Dark Souls.
Yes, it's like Dark Souls. We are huddled around this fucking microphone like a fire, like the world has ended, which, we've already had our quota for that for the next 5 years.
The jokes have already been made.
At length, I think I will always have at least one more in me. I've got a bandolier of that joke. That joke is a part of me now.
If I discovered a joke that I was tired of making and tired of hearing, it was that one.
Anyway, people of the world. Last time Sam, through anime, brought something else that he loves to you, and I really think that more of life needs to be about me and the things that I'm into.
So, and now you're going to be into it.
And now you're going to be into it.
And you don't have a choice in the matter.
Because of colonization, yes. Exactly. You are Western Africa and I'm everyone else. Let's get ready. So for my version, the superior version, not really, the baseball thing's kind of novel.
We're going to be partisan about this? Okay.
No,
I didn't try to be partisan about it.
Alright. I'll reel it in 10%. But yeah, today we are going to be booking a pro wrestling promotion using anime figures. And I mean up and down the card, men and women's divisions, GMs, announcers, the whole shebang.
The whole fucking thing.
Now, for those of you who have somehow made it to a rank 2 weeaboo, which you are if you're listening to an anime podcast, I don't care if you haven't watched a series in the last 5 years. If you're listening to an anime podcast, you are at least at half strength of the anime power chart.
I would say that, yes, the entry level is behind you now.
But yeah, for those of you who have made it that far but don't know, when they say pro wrestling is fake, what they mean is scripted.
They mean it is a show. It is a TV show.
It is a TV show, like almost every other show on television.
I would not call baseball, when it is on TV, a TV show, the way that I would call wrestling a TV show. Think of it as such.
I could go further, but I don't know, man. Super Eye Patch Wolf exists, and you're in theory a weeaboo, so there's your expanded reading, I guess.
If you haven't had contact with him, watch his shit on wrestling. It's illuminating, if nothing else.
It's a good time. It's a good time. So now, we'll start with the simplest matter. The name of our promotion is WHW.
Weeaboo Hell Wrestling.
There's just a long tradition of promotions with 2 W's and 3 letters making mass amounts of money and public attention, and why break what Ted Turner already built?
Also, WHW, you could come up with some really cool looking graphics for that. Like, have the W's be part of the H. There's a whole lot you could do with it.
You could do that, you could do various intersections. You could just have the 3 letters plainly laid out. It's a graphic design gift. Said Dennard, expert in graphic design. My main graphic design experience is designing fake mayoral campaign posters, which I'm sure one of them are going to bite back about that eventually, but we'll see where that goes.
There's a very good chance that one of you listening has probably already seen one. I have to imagine that we have listeners in New York. At least one.
Hello, John. First off, some simple sketching around things. Our ring announcer, just calling people into the ring at the kickoff of our matches here, are Justin Roberts. We decided that we had to go Stalker from G Gundam.
It's the guy from the G Gundam beginning of the episode. It's like, I don't know who else it could have been. He's literally, it's basically his job to do that, but for Gundam.
Suit, eye patch, voice, it's all already there. It already sets the tone that this is going to be Lucha Underground on Mescaline. It's
the great thing about Stalker is that he's kind of a character who almost sort of exists in universe in G Gundam, and that's more or less the role of the announcer in pro wrestling. They are not often a character the way that, the wrestlers, the authority figures, even not the announcers, I mean like the commentators are. The ring announcer kind of is in there and is certainly present, but is not treated as part of everything the way that everyone else is. And Stalker, by the same token, I think he's only in the episode intros, and I think Domon interacts with him like maybe once in the intro, and it's not really Is it in continuity, their interaction? I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I'm not sure the writers of G Gundam ever concerned themselves with the word continuity, or most words. It's a very felt show. Sidebar.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the best ring announcer in the business right now
Yeah.
is the lady they have on NXT, who's also a metal band vocalist, and she doesn't always bring that out, but every now and again it'll be something like a fight pit match, you just say, "The fight pit," and it's the best shit. I fucking love it. It makes me smile.
I don't watch enough NXT. I always know what happens to the people that get called up.
We all die eventually, Seb. Or is that just my mentality? I mean, I don't know. Would you not watch a wrestling show if, like, you knew everyone was going to get hit by a bus at some point 20 years from now? Bad example.
Or,
I also would not
6
watch that
months
show.
from now.
Or sit in a room for 2 years. So a lot of times hovering over these wrestling shows, I'll explain these a little more fully now. You will have like an authority figure, like a fake owner of the promotion, usually representing just sort of general capitalist access, because there's no resentment bubbling under American society.
Although they are usually the actual owner too.
They are often the actual owner,
like
unless except for Lucha Underground, which is just
Yeah, I
an
think
actor.
Dario Cueta is just supposed to be. I don't think he had anything to do with the actual management of the company. But these are your Dixie Carters. These are your Vince Russos. These are your Vince McMahon.
Oh, who's that third one?
I think he might have gone by Mr. McMahon at one point.
Oh, Mr. McMahon. Oh, okay. Oh, man. You love these alternate Mexican names. Just copyright dodging. Fucking great. And a general manager is a fictional version of, your baseball commissioner.
The guy who makes the matches.
Yeah.
They're actual promoters in real life for boxing and for MMA and such that will make matches, that will do what they are pretending to do.
Dana White, being a crazy person in real life, has given this role a lot more credibility than it used to have.
Yes.
It helps. And we decide for the owner of WHW, it had to be none other than the loving mom herself, Ragyo Kiryuin.
Who is so perfectly insane. She'd be so amazingly well suited to owning and running a wrestling company.
I think she would announce every fictional lawsuit against her in a different Lady Gaga costume.
It's her theatricality, right? It's the pageantry with which she conducts every action. It is the fact that she will not lower her voice.
It's very important.
She was built for this, honestly.
And when the writers finally run out of ideas and she ends up in a match, she can run it.
Oh, absolutely. And she'd look great out there too.
It would be a time. We're gonna move into our men's division in a bit, and for that one,
The GM of the
GM
men's division, the matchmaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is going to be Lelouch Lamperouge. Now, last episode we were talking about how ill-suited he would be for baseball, a real sport. However, in this case, his, supreme dedication to planning out a whole bunch of stupid shit and then losing his shit when it goes any way other than he'd planned would actually be perfect.
there are no bugs, only features.
The drama that comes from that's what people crave. That would get people to fuck out of their seats. Because when a matchup did not go the way that he expected, when there was an upset win, and he absolutely fucking
Does
could
it
not
even
handle
need
it.
to go to a win or loss before he has a breakdown? I think after he said, "You better not show up next episode," and then Hero Man walks in next episode of his kendo stick, and he has a screaming breakdown in the middle.
He would have the breakdown before the match. He would have the breakdown after the match. If the match turned around, he would have a breakdown during the match. Like, the camera would cut away to him, in the gorilla position, just tearing down the fucking curtains.
Breaking things that cost money. It'd be a good time. And I'll save the women's gym for later just to stick a little structure.
We'll space it out a little bit, yeah.
Our commentary team shared throughout both divisions.
So in a commentary team, you generally have 3 people. One of them is the play-by-play guy. He's just calling all of the moves as they happen. One of them is going to be the heel commentator.
The heel commentator thinks that bad things are good.
And generally sides with the heel or the bad guy wrestler when they are calling the match. They will talk about the heel wrestler as though they are more sympathetic than they actually are, and will usually insult both of the other commentators as well while doing so, especially the babyface commentator.
And the face commentator is, as it sounds, simply the face version of that dynamic.
He's
good things are
sympathetic
good.
to the good guy.
Bad things are bad. So, our heel commentator, the nail in the listener's brain, perhaps too much so, it was irresistible, will be XL. The orange-haired boombox herself.
I don't know when, before this, the inability to shut the fuck up would be such a boon, would be such an advantage in one's job. But that she talks all the time at such a volume, at such length, and fangirling over evil people, over one evil person, in the series that she's from, and over whoever the fuck evil people
Just happens to be in the ring.
it just happens to be in the ring. She's perfect for this. Perfect.
Her volume settings are 10 and 9.5, which helps.
The babyface commentator, Joseph Joestar.
Specifically, Old Man Joseph, who's picked up all his oh my gods.
Oh my god!
You will get a full-on ball god he's broken in half experience every time someone gets super kicked.
Honest to God, he'd be the JR of his time.
It helps to know the moves for the play-by-play, and that's essential. And this guy will have that. But I think he'll also just know how the moves feel when they're done on you.
He's had enough of that happen to him in his life. He's done enough of both of these things, both taking an ass beating and narrating a fight as the fight happens. It's Krillin, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Sidebar in the flesh.
Your play-by-play commentator.
Letting that Krillin-owned counter, just level off a bit from the sideline. Except when, I don't know, XLXL calls him a cuck or something.
But she probably will every now and again.
I am very confident that a contemporary version of XL Saga would involve her calling at least one person a cuckold.
Oh, absolutely.
Alright, so we're going to talk about some of the solo competitors in the men's division here.
Mm-hmm.
So, in wrestling, as you can imagine, you need a certain number of wrestlers. You actually need a lot of wrestlers because you have a whole ecosystem of storylines that are going on at a given point. You have people competing for the top title, people sort of in the shuffle, people are there kind of just to lose.
You can have too many, although it's easier to have too few. I think when you have a lot of them, sometimes you can have one of them come out and it is more of a surprise when they do.
Yeah.
And surprises are often good in wrestling. I'm not going to say always good, but they are often good.
They are often good. When it's good, it's great, and when it's bad, you turn off the TV and go do something else. In no particular order, some of our solo competitors.
There's Mob from Mob Psycho 100. He's managed by Reagan. A manager in pro wrestling is the guy who comes out and does the promos for you, and acts as your again quote unquote manager, much in the way that someone would have an agent in the acting or music or sports world, right?
In theory, he is your king. In the boxing sense, not the imperial sense.
Yes.
Though that theme would probably be viable in pro wrestling.
If you've watched any amount of WWE in the last 20 years, Paul Heyman is one such person who has managed any number of wrestlers. Right now, he is Roman Reigns' manager.
Lana in her easier times was also one. A big thing here is that Reagan is managing him as a heel, and Mob does not know that they are heel.
He doesn't actually understand much of this business. He's very good, but he doesn't really understand.
Yep.
Okay, Sasuke Sagara.
Here we,
also managed by Kaname Chidori.
And in a sort of almost inversion of the previous situation, is also instigated into matches by his manager because he doesn't want to start feuds, but she keeps on saying things and
She
getting
keeps
people
talking
pissed.
all that good shit and gets him into it. I would actually say that he's probably a babyface. She is probably also a babyface,
Yeah.
but more of like the loud ankle biter type.
I assume that he would have one of the sort of no-nonsense MMA infused movesets. Another solo man of ours would be one Rainer Braun, whose body may or may not be slightly based on actual wrestler Brock Lesnar. Kind of makes him hard to ignore.
It could be based on anything.
True to his spirit.
He was introduced as part of a stable called the Warrior Trio, but he was the only one of them that ever got over.
For the record, getting over is wrestling slang for getting popular with the audience.
Which is essential.
It's essential. You are kind of a slave to the life format in a way. It is the blessing and curse of the whole thing. Oh, and backstage he has an incredible case of imposter syndrome.
Honestly, it's starting to annoy the rest of the locker room.
The next member of WHW is someone we poached him from another promotion, but we had to repackage him.
Well, hold up. Before we talk about the repackaging, let's introduce the guy.
All right, so first off, we have, you might have heard of him, one Son Goku.
You know, the guy in the orange.
The guy in the orange, he has a cloud.
Now, throughout his career, because again, we're playing pretend here. We're playing around in this space here. In this version of his character, he's been in the business for many years. He's been a Hulk Hogan-esque figure in the business for many years. Has had many championships as, the fun, happy-go-lucky guy who just really wants to fight people, right? That's his deal. But lately, because the times are changing, he's been repackaged, which in the wrestling world means that he's basically playing a new version of his character, right?
Yeah. Character development in wrestling is in larger jumps, let's say.
And in this case, he's playing a heel version of himself. Specifically, he is Drip Goku.
He is Drip Goku.
Wearing the Supreme
head to
hoodie.
toe in Supreme. He will never wear the same pair of sneakers twice. Sometimes he will change them mid-match.
Sometimes he'll come out in the North Face jacket instead. He will come out at the end of people's matches and promos, completely unexpected, completely unannounced, and wreck them.
Anyway, they've decided that now that he's a cool new heel, that they're going to go on a very artisanal character development method and make him kind of a silent badass.
A silent badass. I see him as a silent badass.
Yeah, that's one element of his character, but he's also kind of a silent badass.
And now someone who's definitely not silent, Seto Kaiba.
There's a tradition in pro wrestling. I can only trace it back to Gorgeous George, who was someone from, I don't know, the 50s or some shit. Maybe it goes back earlier than that.
I think it was earlier than even that.
Earlier than even that, whatever. Early 20th century is the point.
I mean, that is when pro wrestling began. So,
yeah. And Gorgeous George was a guy whose things were basically being loud, wealthy, preening, and egotistical. That has been an anchor type villain in pro wrestling forever, and
every promotion has one at any given time.
Yeah, it's where you get your, I don't know, AEW, MJFs, WWE, Miz's, NJPW Taichi's from.
Taichi, okay, yeah.
And this is a long, circuitous way of me saying that Seto Kaiba isn't here for your opinions. He isn't here for your rules. He is here to talk about himself in the third person.
How much money he has.
How he's paid people to develop new moves. How he owns 25% of this company. And will get his title shots when he damn well wants them.
How he is evolving the industry. He is the cutting edge.
And a level of costume-based ostentation seconded only by Drip Goku. Oh no, heels dress better. It's weird.
They often do, yes.
So next we have one of Sam's favorites. Well, I'll let him roll him into our little context bubble here.
All right, you're gonna have to take a ride with me here, because this is going to take a little bit of if you know wrestling, if you watch wrestling, this will be easier to get. If you don't, then you probably watch anime, so it still won't be too difficult to get because it involves a very kind of anime-esque kind of trope to it.
I'm convinced at least 20% of you watched Ultimate Muscle because it was on.
All right, so Ash Ketchum, right? He is the perpetual underdog babyface. He wins about 4 out of every 10 matches. You know, enough that he looks good out there. He looks competitive. You know that he can win, but he just doesn't often enough. He's always going for it. He's always talking about how he's going to do it this time. But usually he doesn't. Except, and here's where I'm just getting away from, you know, the version of the character that you know here, but it's going to be something that you will understand. Except, every now and again, at pay-per-views mostly, instead of coming out to the Pokemon theme song. You know the one, just, I want to be the very best. Because all wrestlers have an entrance theme song that plays, you know, when they walk into the ring, right? Instead of that, you hear...
So, Sam is humming a very specific childhood experience
and
there.
that is if you did not recognize the tune, the battle theme that plays when you fight Pokemon Trainer Red on Mount Silver, because he does not come out as Ash Ketchum when it's time to get the fuck real. He comes out as Pokemon Trainer Red. His hat, instead of brushed to the side, pulled down over his eyes, and he wins that match.
So for those of you who are both into wrestling and somehow extremely slow, okay, not somehow, that's pretty common in wrestling, this is essentially a take on a Mick Foley, Finn Balor type who has an alt mode kind of thing.
Exactly. And this being anime, you know, it is the super powered side that they often have. Jujutsu Kaisen, just the latest example of dude is powerful on his own, but more powerful when in his super powered mode, who is also an alternate personality.
Very true, very true.
All right, next one.
All right, so next we have another very special one near to our hearts. We just put fucking Gene from Godhead in here.
He doesn't know that it's fake.
He doesn't know that it's fake. He yells every promo with a little too much intensity. People are worried sometimes.
People have to hold him back at the end of a match because they're afraid that he might kill someone. He has backstage incidents all the time.
He is, in a very genuine way, feared and beloved by both the fans and the locker room.
I think that the only reason that he is still with the company and not in jail is because the man can fucking draw numbers.
They would make him champion more if he would stop saying things that they can't explain.
Oh man, keep him the fuck off of Twitter too. He is just Mr. Feud. Not necessarily problematic, but he will start shit.
So next in our...
For no reason. For no reason.
For no reason. It's like the old Tech 9 song. No reason. Okay.
He won't even respond to someone's tweet. He will just tweet at them.
He'll tweet at them. He'll send, I'm coming for you. Then he'll send a picture of a driver's view. And it's not quite in their neighborhood yet, but it's in their town, and he's rounding a corner. Okay. You know, so you want to get eyes on your promotion, so sometimes, you know, you want your celebrity guests, or
you gotta
like
sign
your
a big star.
people, so... You know, to really kick things off, WHW is just going to sign fucking Ichigo Kurosaki.
And people really... They're paying way the fuck too much to it for him, because he's not that great, he's not that interesting, he can't do promos, he never really could.
But people just expect to see these big shonen guys with super modes.
Like, he's got a whole lot of moves, certainly. That's what he has. That's what he brings to the table. But he has dozens of them. You have to understand... A great wrestler, right, can have maybe 5 or 6 signature moves. That's just moves that recognizably belong to them that they
Yeah.
use during the match, and usually one, maybe two finishing moves, which is the move that they use to get the pin, right? To finish the match.
So his list of signatures and finishers
Dozens each.
runs well into the dozens, potentially past.
It's rare that you ever see him use one twice.
After an incident referred to generally by the fan base as the Heart, a very famous botch, he is socially distanced from the championship.
He still is out there all the damn time. Way too often, the Smarks cannot stand him. A Smark in wrestling parlance is a smart mark, which is to say someone who follows the sport, or not the sport, someone who follows sports entertainment, there we go, with the same sort of head for numbers as a baseball nerd who's really into all of the various just analytics and shit.
Yeah, just anyone who's into it as much as someone called a weeb would be into anime.
Exactly. They're the type of nerd that's trying to get inside the writers' heads at any given time.
Yep.
You know?
So amidst these notable heels, we have a crowd favorite, Lupin 3.
Lupin the Third.
Who, some people brawl through the audience, or they do the stone cold thing, they fight in the aisles. Lupin's special. Lupin flees through the audience.
He gets the fuck out.
He is just weaving between people there for a show to avoid his opponent. They're not always clued into how far into the audience he's going to run.
Winning is less important to him as getting out in one piece, though he will often find a way to win, usually through some degree of cowardice. Now, this is not to say that he is a heel. He is in fact a tweener, somewhere between a babyface and a heel.
He is the rare chicken shit tweener. He's
Tweeners usually tend to be like big dudes with attitude who will beat the shit out of you. They don't care who you are. No, he'll cheat you in a match and he doesn't care who you are.
Shades of Toru Yano. Alright. Now let's crawl under the learning tree for a second. A big thing in good wrestling, not so much some of the stuff on cable, is stables. Stables in wrestling are just, people naturally coalesce into groups or teams or brands. You see it in everything from, soccer to UFC or what have you. I probably should focus on the UFC example given the combat sport thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in wrestling, they're just a big storytelling tool, of how people relate to each other within the stable. You have how the stables relate to each other. You have traveling between them or into them or out of them.
Often, and I would say the majority of the time, they are heels, but this does not always have to be the case.
Yeah, there are some heroic stables like your Chaos or Late Shield, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start with our favorite babyface stable, who are the Truant Triangle. Fan favorite delinquents, all featuring black jackets and caps.
So we got their leader, Great Teacher Onizuka, and his two pupils, Josuke Higashikawa and Kuwabara, from JoJo Part 4 and Yu Yu Hakusho, respectively.
Onizuka is here to teach them that there's more to life than kicking ass. There's kicking ass and getting gold. Now Josuke...
He can fix anything, and he'll fix you good.
He'll fix you good. He has the best hot tags in the business.
Kuwabara, feeling smooth.
Feeling smooth. He cuts some people's just favorite, mid-match crowd work, and the promos, they're not always coherent, and they're never intelligent, but they're always great.
They're always just wonderful, and when he's about to do his finisher, the crowd will scream along, flaming sword.
Something I just realized is I should actually define a promo. Now, in your boxing or mixed martial arts land, sometimes when you want more people to buy the match you're in, which is always, you will have to do some promotional interviews, at which point you will pretend this person is your blood enemy, has always been your blood enemy, always will be your blood enemy.
And you want to kill and eat them.
I want to kill and eat them. Now, wrestling took this concept and fucking ran with it because they have them before matches, after matches, in-ring vignettes, out-of-ring vignettes, Twitter videos.
In its most basic version, a promo is a soliloquy where you describe why and how you're going to kick someone's ass next week.
And it's where the acting / personality half of this really comes in. Like, it comes in mid-match as well, but a promo is just pure that aspect.
It's something that you should really be good at. You don't necessarily need to be good at it, but it never hurts when you are.
Yeah, it's definitely one of your two hands in this entire medium. So our next stable, because remember, this is us booking a wrestling promotion out of anime characters. We had to do it to you. Gundam Goon.
The permanent heel faction.
The permanent field faction. Your fucking Bullet, NWO, etc. We currently have 3 pouting-based psychopaths in this. Mikazuki August is making another appearance after last episode. He's their enforcer. He cannot cut promos.
And will not cut promos. He has no interest in it.
He is just there to hurt people.
Setsune Seihei from Gundam 00 will occasionally cut promos in a total fucking deadpan, less as a means of hyping people up and more as a means of just explaining himself.
What has just happened and what is about to happen to you. And they are of an extreme laconic character. What's the match? Setsuna FSA pinning target.
And Hiruyui, finally, from Gundam Wing.
And the important thing here is, he's a bit like Kevin Nash, if that name means anything to you. Super over, i.e. popular. People wanted to cut promos, do his one move.
Not give a shit, and then go home.
A lot of, talking over people in promos, and what can they say? It draws numbers.
You will ask them to look at the adjective.
So naturally, when you have your permanent heel faction in these things, you need your plucky underdogs to oppose them and hold belts long enough for them to be taken away.
So for that purpose, we have the Macross faction.
Currently entitled Starcrossed.
So we've got Alto from Macross Frontier back in 2007. We've got Neki from Macross 7. And Hikaru Ichijo from the original Super Dimension Fortress Macross.
And boy, do they put up a fight.
They really give it their all. They look like such goddamn heroes out there.
And, you really believe they can do it next time.
But Gundam doesn't care if you're a hero.
In Gundam Goon... By the way, Goon is Japanese for army, and there are a bunch of just Japanese stables named Blank Goons. That's the sort of pun there, but... In Gundam Goon, they've grown to fear their own deeds. So our next stable is High Heat. Guys who are always hot-blooded, always yelling, promos that people will physically reach for their remote to turn the volume down to 30% for.
So we have, because this is us, we have Domon Kashu, another Gundam might be a little bit overrepresented in this promotion, but hey.
It's possible.
Naruto Uzumaki, he's there, he's yelling, as always. And Shiro from Fate Stay Night,
Naruto, through his particular brand of yelling and talk no jutsu, is responsible for more heel turns and face turns than any other character. Consistently yelling, good things are good or good things are bad, and the other person, the light of comprehension will slowly dawn on their face as they realize they're living their life incorrectly. And then they get pinned. And as Sam said, we have Shiro from Fate Stay.
As high job!
As he absorbs a number of pins.
Unlimited pin works!
As he absorbs a number of pins only possible either through magic or pornographic fixation. He single-handedly resolves the imaginary employment crisis.
Whenever someone on the stable needed to take a pin, it would be him. However, he would be why the stable was popular amongst online fans. And I think a whole lot of memes that came out of this promotion would come from him and his dumb shit promos that are all very memorable, if nothing else.
The sheer number of artful flubs, spoonerisms, Every promo comes with a new portmanteau that doesn't make sense, but is
People
eminently
lose if they are
repeatable.
pinned.
I may lose, but you'll never pin me. Sometimes his matches will start with the other person looking confused.
It's always magical when he can pull off a win. Okay, so the final heel stable, and currently in this, where we come in, a whole lot of the men's division storyline revolves around them and their machinations. Is the stable called Keikaku?
They are a heel stable. They don't know what a clean finish is.
They've got plans, and their plans have plans that run counter to those other plans.
They seem to be new, but they insist they've been working behind the scenes all along. And their members include their frontman, Light Yagami.
People will yell, "Just as planned! Just as planned! Just as planned!" when he's about to get the pin.
It is the new Rusev Crush.
Rukuro Okajima, or Rock from Black Lagoon, as their kind of second in command.
He's their logistics man. He runs long, slightly expository promos about who's going after what belts.
We've got Kiyotaka Ayanokoji from Classroom of the Elite. He's like... He's the guy who will bluff people, right? He's kind of going to be on the apron, making it difficult for everyone,
He's making various gestures and actions that faces find so distracting they can get thwacked in the gonads before.
There's Inaho from
Aldnoah Zero.
From Aldnoah Zero. There's Inaho from Aldnoah Zero, who is the master of the quick roll-up. He will not even wait for the fight to happen. He will figure out how to win right then and there and then do it.
A lot of his matches will end suddenly in defiance of what one would call a typical narrative or match flow because he is that ready for the flash pin.
And the cruiserweight attached to the stable. Often, when you get like a big enough stable, you get one or two little guys attached to it as well, and they'll have matches against the other little guys. That's gonna be Norman from the Promised Neverland.
And finally, as we find out weeks before the biggest pay-per-view of the year, they have one more member. And no one knows where the signs were. But it was secretly Lelouch Lamperouge all along. Or as he'll be known in Keikaku, Zero.
This was the dude that they were reporting to, sort of a la the Dark Order from AEW. Just a man only referred to as Zero, and no one knows who he could be.
The three people that did not see it coming will be accused of consuming paint.
The old paint from your pre-war building.
Now, some very special singles competitors, some very special solo competitors. The enhancement talent. Now, a lot of these guys we put in before, some of them will mostly win, some of a mixture of winning and losing, some of them will lose more than they win.
These guys will just lose.
These guys just lose. These guys are here to eat shit, fix everyone's numbers in the diagram.
And occasionally look good doing it.
They are the team that your dad roots for, but always loses and curses at the television. You wonder what's going on, but while he's cursing at television, you have access to the beer. So you steal some of the beer and you go back to your room. I'm talking about my childhood now. So
I'm just wondering, is your dad from Detroit? Because you could pick any team.
Any team across any sport. Yeah, it's a grim place to be for that. Now, these enhancement competitors are Itoshiki Sensei, aka Mr. Despair, who promos like hell before every match about some intense current event topic, and then is pinned within, I want to say, a minute and a half of the bell ringing.
It's never even a fight. It always looks bad, and then after getting pinned, he will scream as he goes up the ramp, "I could have died! What if I died?"
People are never quite ready for what's going to come out of his mouth. Our next jobber, McEmployment son.
And it was not always this case, but
it was not always the case. This character went on a bit of a journey. Character development happens in wrestling. Like, that's the appeal. There are these stories where things change. And Amon was built up for months as a mysterious force.
Like,
The
remember
guy
when-
who's gonna take the promotion over. They introduced him with a few just quick defeats of like established favorites, complete squashes.
Remember when Dustin Rhodes was in WCW and he dressed up like a fucking Cenobite from fucking Hellraiser? And then he actually got in the ring. And he cut a promo. It's like, why am I wearing all this stupid crap? I picture
So
it being
that-
something like that.
So until he finally unmasks and reveals his backstory one day to a mass crowd-wide reaction of fucking nothing. Not heat, not anger, nothing.
No one gave a shit. It was the least exciting thing they'd ever seen. Many of them went to their phones.
And he spends the rest of his career looking up at the lights.
Because he is on his back, having just been pinned, for those who, if you're having a hard time picturing it. Okay, so we got a couple more.
So this is another category of singles competitor. Not necessarily like formal fencing, but a tendency that we find and thought would be good to replicate. This is our fan uprising category, which are people that we don't like, or that the management didn't like in the last case. But people the management didn't like, but got over anyway.
In spite of our efforts to bury them.
As far as to bury them, push them to the bottom of the roster, or even out of the company. So the first one, number one. There was no other choice given our relationship to the anime community at large.
It's Saitama.
Fucking Saitama is the Daniel Bryan of this fucking promotion.
People fucking love him!
I wanted to bring him in for like 3 weeks just to eat some pins.
Bury him, sign a contract that would be a couple of pay-per-views long, that sort of thing. Maybe drive the numbers up a little bit, and instead he caught the fuck fire.
Everyone is convinced he is the best thing to happen to 4 sets of ropes around a ring.
And management's pissed. Management doesn't get it. The crowd will shout, "Okay! Okay! Okay!" Sort of in the way that they shout yes whenever Debra is around.
Now, just when we think we have a semblance of control over things, that we've at least bought Saitama into our system of doing things, another force of fucking fanboy, and particularly fangirl nature, shows up. When Sasuke Uchiha enters the scene,
Oh my god!
some audio's going to leak out from production of just using various extremely unprintable, politically correct terms describing Sasuke Uchiha and his fans and their mental capacity and various neurological disorders that people are born with. But it keeps on going. It's a full-on, like, CM Punk situation. If and when he is fired, the fans will chant the long-ass full Sharingan name. Don't ask me to recreate it. Something Mangyakyo Sharingan.
It's long and I don't care.
It's like one of those old papal titles.
The final member of the fan uprising, which this is less a character who we despise. We both love this guy, but it'd be the sort of guy who you would not expect to get over and would have not had any help getting over, but would have gotten over all the same. Our guy, Yu Ishigami.
Literally hired to job. Each time after he does so, he just says, "I want to die, so I'm going home."
It's something like an Orange Cassidy sort of situation where it's why is you understand it, you don't understand it, you kind of understand it just a little bit, but it's like he doesn't want to be here.
He doesn't want to be here, and I guess that resonates with people.
He doesn't actually want to win, but people get that.
People know what it's like to have to be at work. Rent is coming.
And for some reason, he seems to be in, like, the mid-card title picture more often than not.
And eventually, he's just staring down the United States Championship in his hands, hard won after everything. He says, "Man, I wish I had a date."
Coming up is
Another special category.
a really special category that I like a whole lot.
So, something you have to understand is that most wrestling promotions, by most I mean everyone that is currently funded on a major way, is basically orbiting around some millionaire or billionaire that's funding the operation.
Mm-hmm. And they will be making the decisions about who fights who,
And
like on a meta level, not in a universe, but on the outside, right? They will be making the decisions about who fights who and who has the title. You know,
and will often go to their specific peccadillos. The fans be damned, they don't like this guy until they remember the forces of the medium are forces sort of shelve the plan, or they somehow thread the needle and actually get this guy popular.
Mm-hmm.
It's
But
a
usually they
category
don't.
after the WWE politics that we call Vince guys. People we love who don't get over. Number 1. We thought about how this would pan out. Edward Elric.
We don't see it happening. To be entirely honest, his matches would be only interesting to Smarks for the most part, and like even then, probably not. The character himself is just not too amazingly well suited to the medium of pro wrestling.
Yeah, and the producers will be shouting, he can do a 35-minute match. And people in front yelling, I don't care.
He'll be able to outthink them. It'll be great.
It's like he'll never be like the toughest guy, but he always wins because he's the smartest. And people will just be flipping him off and throwing shit.
They just, again, it will not connect with them because wrestling just isn't like that, right? And then because he's Edward Elric, he will get into Twitter feuds with fans who will call him short. And then he will actually just search through Twitter. He will search through Twitter using, keywords just Ed Elric and short, and call fans slurs.
You'll call them slurs. There'll be Twitter threads of these slurs.
It'll look really bad for the company.
Yep.
He wouldn't be the man for it.
So then, on a similar spectrum, Mr. Kogame, while highly pushed by the Dale half of Real Corporate, he's the detective from Psycho-Pass, will just be found too quiet in general from fans. Once again, somehow the silent badass
I see
treatment.
him more like a silent badass.
Well, he's like that, but he's also kind of a silent badass.
But what if you were kind of like a silent badass?
Well, that's cool, but he's like a badass, but who doesn't talk.
I see him kind of coming out, and he doesn't even cut a promo because he's a silent badass.
Okay, but while he's not cutting a promo, he's also not using any words because he's a silent badass.
Much in the manner of a silent badass. Yeah. All of his moves would be way the fuck to grappling and techie, and they wouldn't. They'd be impressive only if you were a wrestler, and not many people who watch wrestling are in fact wrestlers themselves.
It would have a fascinating effect on just general American culture if that many people were wrestlers, I think. Oh god, we'd have a fake civil war.
And then the third Vince guy, who
goes on a little bit of a different journey than the others.
a little bit different, because sometimes you can have a Vince guy who spends most or at least much of their career with everyone fucking hates them. They're pushed to the moon and no one buys it. This is your Roman Reigns of the world, who will the company wants them to be the big face of the company. They want them to be, this is the guy that you associate with us, and he's our big hero man, and he, no one can keep him down for long.
And they refuse to approach the idea that there's any other way to do this character until one day someone just bats their eyes at the right producer the right way and just let him try to face right, and it fucking explodes. And that's the best thing the company's done in years.
And so I want you to imagine a character. Such a character who, goes through much of their career as this just really determined babyface type character who's maybe a little bit too intense sometimes, and that's their kind of their main draw. It's a little bit too intense, really just wants it a little bit too much, and no one really buys it. But then after a long absence, they come back, kind of changed, a little bit repackaged, you could say.
There have been some mild tweaks to the Aaron Yeager character. A failed comedy phase, beloved heel, who, in his big heel turn, simply says,
I just keep moving forward, and fucking slams his finisher on one of his former allies.
The scouted company was a beloved stable before his turn. Now there is just Aaron. holding titles fucking hostage. Also, every promotion has its history. Okada's rapidly becoming history with his spine, but that's another issue.
Oh no.
Right? But yeah, you have your Bruno Sammartino, who had the belt for fucking ever. These days, the way people talk about wrestling, you would count Stone Cold and
Stone Cold. I would count Antonio Inoki as one such.
Yeah. An unfortunate thing is that they can sort of hover over who the company thinks will work or not work as they try to make lightning strike twice instead of just acknowledging the sort of malleable nature of things.
And I like to think of Shar Aznable as would be one such, like a former, champion, maybe alive, maybe dead, definitely not competing anymore, but he has so many clones.
Yeah, like, that whole range of guys, full frontal Iron Mask, all those guys, if you show up to WHW with blonde hair and sunglasses, we'll give you a shot. Like any dude, right? It's like a Vince gender flip. Though we will take Distaff Chars as well.
I feel like it's happened.
By now it must have happened. If it hasn't happened, someone's asleep at the wheel.
I don't know that it's happened in Gundam, but I'm sure that there's been at least one character in anime who is a female character who is also supposed to kind of be like Char. Balalaika. There we go.
Yeah.
Balalaika, I'm sure there's a little bit of Char that went into her character.
Just drizzle. Now, one of the most important things for where your show is at the moment and where you're going. Determine who their challengers can be, because generally you have your faces fight your heels fight your faces. Sometimes you can have a good face conflict sort of built on that tension of maintaining your standards of behavior, etc. Sometimes you can do a heel thing and everyone just says, why?
I don't care.
It just doesn't fucking work. I don't know, man. So our world champion, our big man on top, a person who just keeps moving forward. Eren Yeager, still moving forward.
WHW World Champion.
Still pinning giants on a career best run.
No one can believe how fucking on fire this guy is.
How on fire he is. He finds interesting match finishes. He's changed up his moveset. He's worked on the body. Just become a total 360 character.
People hate him and love him. It's like Edge.
Yep.
Intercontinental.
In terms of biting people in half, he is truly a rated R superstar.
Mm-hmm.
Or Intercontinental.
Or Intercontinental, the mid-card championship. Often in wrestling promotions, you'll have the big heavyweight championship, and then you'll have another championship belt that's like slightly less important, and everyone kind of knows that's slightly less important, but it's good to have another, achievement marker around like that.
It gives stories more things to coalesce around. This championship actually tends to end up more important in promotions that have a weekly TV show.
Yes.
Because they can often move it around on free TV without fucking up their plans. They can just run more stories around it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the mid-card champion is often just referred to colloquially as the TV champion.
Yeah. And sometimes the belt is even called the TV championship.
Yeah. Sometimes you will even just put people who are seen as a little more marketable but not good enough to carry the company as in that sort of public-facing TV championship slot. But that's a whole other thing.
There's a lot of inside baseball when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah. And who has the experience, the charisma, the sheer drip?
It's fucking Supreme Goku.
It is fucking Supreme drip Goku.
Who's at the point in his career where he's fine having a less important title than he has had in the past. And he's trying out a new gimmick. It's like, The Undertaker doing the American Badass thing.
Yeah, and like the American Badass, he's kind of a silent badass.
He's kind of a silent badass.
He doesn't talk much, but he's cool.
Yeah, he's cool, that's the thing is that it fucking works. It's one of those things that just inexplicably works.
Oh yeah, it works. It's just also it's fun to
much
riff on.
like the Undertaker. I have this image in my mind of the lights go out and when they come back on, it's him in his Supreme hoodie with his hands folded up on top of one another.
If you look closely, his hat is closely stacked on top of another hat of a different color.
God, I hope that the listeners have fucking watched enough YouTube to know what the fuck we're talking about.
Hey, if this doesn't make sense to you, all of this babble about Supreme and Drip and Goku somehow being related, we're stroking out. Don't worry about it.
I'm about to die. I've lost all oxygen to my brain.
You're listening to the last flailings of a dying mind. Tag champs.
Tag team wrestling is an integral part of the art form, and thus, tag team wrestlers. It's a slightly different beast. There are different rules associated with it. There are different moves because moves that you do on your own against another person. That's one thing. Moves that you do in concert with another person against one or two other people. Again, it's different.
I almost considered fully stretching the definition of weeb shit all the way to fucking Pacific Rim and grabbing two of those mothers, but I didn't go so far.
There's enough that we already have to draw from.
But our current tag champions are fucking Setsuno Fse with Mikazuki August, taking it too far every week.
These are the motherfuckers who will continue to beat the shit out of a guy after they've already pinned him.
It's not a revenge thing or humiliation thing. They just want to reduce the number of competitive people in the future.
He's eliminating the target.
Exactly. And it is beyond unsportsmanlike.
I've noticed that all of our champions are heels.
It's actually worth pointing out that some bookers just do have a tendency to lead the show with like face champions or heel champions more. You see it on the time like NXT and AEW are big examples of this. Like, NXT is really a predominantly heel champion driven thing. Like, Ciampa's heel run lasted forever. Karrion Kross is likely to hold the belt longer than maybe he should. Mm-hmm. And face championship runs tend to be nasty, brutish, and short, especially if you're Keith Lee. Oh yeah, and with the AEW thing, well, it's probably slightly tilted by Moxley and Darby Allin getting showered of the fucking love in that room, but
I mean, in Moxley's case is because he's worked so hard for so many goddamn years, and people were so fucking happy to see him, doing his own thing, and like he was gonna be over with everyone for a very long time. They probably could have gone even longer, but he's got a kid on the way. I think the kid might already be here, but I haven't checked in a while.
And JPW can go either way on the lower championships, but on the main belt, villains tend to either hold the belt very, very briefly, grumble, grumble, Jay White's new era should have been longer, grumble, grumble, or they just drift into the face column a la Okada, mm-hmm. who just holds the belt until he's like, I think I'm good now. Not that I'm complaining. Fucking love him. Fucking love the NJPW bit. And finally, there's a wrestling thing across multiple promotions. Just the briefcase.
The briefcase. I think Chris Jericho originally came up with this idea. And the idea behind the briefcase is that there is a special match, probably at a pay-per-view, that happens where a whole bunch of people compete for a briefcase. And if you get the briefcase, then you at any time get to challenge the current champion for a championship match that begins right when you say start the match, and it can happen in the middle of a match. It is great when a heel has the briefcase because then it introduces this chaos factor.
Yeah, it is very much more intuitively a heel thing. As a little side story, the most creative modern use of the briefcase to the point that kind of broke the concept was during WrestleMania
35. No, it was it was earlier than that. It was like 31, 32.
Yeah, just within the last 5 years.
It's known now as like one of the better main
they call
events
it
at
the heist
WrestleMania.
of the century. The point is that there was originally this event that everyone was just irritated that this is happening again. They don't care anymore. It's Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, and Roman Reigns' old stablemate / cackling archvillain Seth Rollins had the briefcase and had a match earlier in the card to sort of mask this move.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a Randy Orton, it was a different one. Or was it Randy Orton? I don't fucking remember. It doesn't matter.
Was it the one against H?
Who cares? Nah, not who cares. I need to dismiss it, but who knows is what I was going to say. A lot of people know watching this know, but whatever. My point, and I do have one, is that I want to say 10 minutes into this fucking match, Seth Rollins runs in like a fucking chipmunk on ketamine with this briefcase, screams, "Put me in the match," and goes in and wins, and it's fucking awesome.
It was magical.
And who else could hold the Ultimate Keikaku briefcase but Rock?
You don't see him coming. You never see him coming. No one sees him coming. No one expects to see the things that comes out of that man's head. It would have been a major goddamn upset when he got the briefcase, and he will use it to successfully get that championship one of these days.
Yep. The common, like, workaday heel thing is just use it, like, after the champion has, won a match by the skin of their teeth,
they're beaten and bruised, and they're not ready to defend themselves, that kind of thing.
And they come in and cash in, and it's that tends to be a good way to keep your hero's credibility but move the title.
Mm-hmm.
And that's popular. Some clever things people have done with this. The briefcase is an interesting thing, so I'm going to ramble about it.
Yeah.
So some fun stuff that's happened in Lucha Underground and in NJPW, and they're cool with the briefcase. People can actually challenge you for it, which is the fun idea. Though it can be, if a hero wins a briefcase initially, it can feel immensely unsatisfying for them to just lose the fucking briefcase.
I know that someone did the analytics on it, and at least in the WWE, a lot of the time when a babyface wins the briefcase, they turn heel, just because it's more threatening to have a heel with the briefcase.
The two non-turning heel solutions they have found of the briefcase, other than the person just losing like a putz and then... Why am I watching this show? But
I would say poor Corbin, but he's done fine for himself ever since.
The two interesting things they found was, once a fellow named John Moxley, Dean Ambrose back then, got it and cashed it immediately. Like, he won the match for the fucking briefcase. And on the same night, cashed in the briefcase for a match, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It also just fit the character, sort of a wild man. A wild thing, if you will. Inside baseball joke. So that was one thing. And then there was a guy named Rob Van Dam who kind of called his shot and challenged and said, at this upcoming specific event, that is totally to my advantage. I want you to come in front of my fucking fans. You corporate shill. And he won it there. It was a whole thing of this legacy of ECW. No, not important right now. So anyway, that's the briefcase. We've been on for that for a bit. Now, here's an invention of ours. The Deep Anime Champion.
The DAC.
The DAC. A weight class exclusively for obscure, thinky anime.
I mean...
Not obscure.
The current champion is definitely not from an obscure anime, but definitely from a deep anime.
And that would be one deeply traumatized Shinji Ikari.
Holding his bloody belt above his head.
Saying, it was worth it. I did it. It was worth it.
He won it from Lane.
Yup. He's slowly sinking to his knees. Clutching it like the teddy bear from the mother he doesn't know. There has never been a DAC champion with fewer than 2 entries in the DSM-5. So now we're going to move on to our women's division.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start with our very special general manager for the women's division. And, we want something, softer and fuzzier, more relatable. So it's Kyubey.
From
Madoka.
From Madoka Magica. There have always been matches. There will always be matches.
You signed up for this. Don't you remember? You
Do
have
want
to keep
make
fighting.
A contract for a match?
It's not a hardcore match, is it? Do you want to make a contract for a match? Why won't you answer me? Do you want to make a contract for a match? Okay.
Alright, so our solo competitors for the women's division.
So, right off the bat, I'm not even gonna fuck around with you. We have Ryuko in here in a babyface. We tried to turn her heel early on. The crowd said fucking no and kept cheering her. She's still face.
I want you to imagine the sound of glass shattering.
Yes. Exactly.
And if you know right now.
You know, you might say she's a stone cold killer.
Her weakness, if it can be called that, is that she's very easy to piss off.
Very easy to piss off. Maybe just overextend herself into multiple active feuds.
It's fine. She's angry enough. She feuds with the owner all the goddamn time.
It's to the point where you kind of wonder how Rago would ever have time to actually run anything amidst what appears to be an excessively personal vendetta.
I'm imagining the fucking Vince McMahon hospital spot. Raggy was in the hospital and Ryuko comes in and beats the shit out of her leg.
Great.
Okay, another solo competitor, Usagi from Sailor Moon.
Now, Usagi is a face with sort of tweener qualities. A tweener, someone who's between phase and heel. Like, I guess what a normal fiction is called a character of traits and opinions. Referred to a wrestler named Orange Cassidy earlier, who is popular people because he sort of matches the disaffected attitude of a lot of youth in a funny way.
He is a mood, one could say.
Her appeal is like that, but instead of a like disaffected teen aesthetic, she is more of a vapid teen aesthetic. Like, she starts matches on her phone.
Just poking around on it.
Or, like, looking for her cat, and no one knows why this cat is so fucking important.
Is often just too lazy to work.
Yeah.
Kind of a bum.
Gets one or two time limit draws that she could have won if she just really went for it seriously from the jump. And it leaves the character room to grow.
Mm-hmm. The next character, or the next wrestler, and one of the top heels of the entire fucking company.
Probably the top heel.
Well, her and our boy Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
Although Aaron is so immensely over that it's questionable if he's still even a heel at this point, honestly.
Cult of personality.
Nothing wrong! Nothing wrong! Nothing wrong!
Oh, wait, nothing wrong chants, nothing wrong t-shirts.
So, probably the top heel of the company right now is Revy of Black Lagoon. Utter fucking psychopath, headhunter. Intentionally injures people, works the injured leg, works the injured arm, does headshots all the time.
Keeps going through managers because she just can't fucking act right. Also, just lost the belt and is currently freaking the fuck out about it.
Absolutely beside herself with rage.
It would take one hell of a manager to put her back on track. Where's that story going?
You're playing Brock.
I'm brilliant.
Yeah, there you go. There's the storyline.
I'm like fucking Jado. Yoko Littner. Great worker. Good lucha things. Impossible vertical leap.
Camera loves her.
Camera loves her. She may sue the cameraman, and she has an extremely discomfiting fan community.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Don't read the comments on her Instagram. Just don't fucking do it.
It'll just make your day worse.
You're just gonna go to this place where you're wondering like how. Just what? It's such a fucking. We were talking about it last night. Like, what percentage of the population is attracted to heterosexual men? You fucking suckers. We got you.
We got you. You fell for the scam.
You fell for our tricks. There's no reason that you should find us attractive.
Enjoy the smells. So next we have someone who the management is confounded by how over this person is.
Suisei Seki. Remember her? Desu? The
Desu
red and the green eyes?
Maiden. If you don't get it, that's fine. Management doesn't either.
It's one of those confoundingly over characters. No one really has a problem with it necessarily. They're just like, okay, all right, print some more merch.
3 months into it, they just sort of hand her the mid-card belt. Let her hold it for a month and just yank it back. So, back in our face column because we need people for Revy to beat.
We have Madoka of Madoka Magica.
And the bookers will do everything short of lighting her on fire for sympathy.
She takes bumps like fucking Mick Foley.
They keep introducing characters in her orbit, either to be beaten off the show or betray her. It's like fucking Sting.
They will do injury angles. They will do hostage angles. Brian Pillman will come on there with a gun.
And it is supplemented by her willingness, A, to blade and blade excessively, and B, take Mick Foley bumps.
Oh yeah, she will look like absolute fucking shit out there in the best way you can imagine.
Also, a relatively kawaii for the old fan sympathy there.
Mm-hmm.
So then, we have a long timer, sort of used to anchor these divisions getting up there in age. Major Kisanagi, always after the Deep Anime Championship, even when holding other titles. Did a X2 belts run a la Conor McGregor, run of the world, and DAC in the 90s.
It was a pretty legendary run. People still talk about it.
Yep. Sort of an old pay-per-view anchor.
Mm-hmm.
We have another camera favorite as Fujiko.
Of Lupin III.
Really just tweens her way through things. Lupin simping for her has cost both him and her title shots on multiple occasions.
They will do intergender stuff every now and again, either against one another or tag teaming together with one another.
There are always rumblings that they might do more of the intergender thing across the promotion. It never really manifests.
It never really quite manifests, except for her. She seems to be the one most excited to do it.
Also, did somebody say flash pins? Because there are going to be a lot of flash
There's
pins.
There's going to be quite a few flash pins.
Oh, in our lexicon here, a flash pin it's a really fun trick in wrestling where every now and again the real sport rules just interject themselves in a surprising way where instead of being hit by, I don't know, the top rope, dragon, pile driver 3000 before a pin, someone will just suddenly roll someone into a surprising position and get a 1-2-3 pin a la a sport. And when it happens, people, they will always just look fucking shocked.
A lot of baby faces win matches like this.
Yes. Remembering the rules of wrestling is considered
a baby face quality, yes.
Yeah. And on the opposite end of the technique tree, we had to. Fucking Aqua's in here.
Kazuma!
Now, when it comes to specifically using Aqua, I have to tell a story about our early integration into wrestling. It's a brief one, but I like these little stories. There is a wrestler. She used to be terrible. She's actually weirdly improved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Named Carmella. And what used to be the only notable thing about her, other than tanning salons, was the fact that she could shriek like no human I've ever seen. Like, we colloquially referred to the volume of a wrestling performer's shrieking as a metric unit called Carmella's, between 0.1 and 1.
So it's like distance is measured in miles.
Like, if someone just screeched incredibly, we'd say, wow, that was 0.8 Carmella's. The reason I bring this up is that Aqua will always be screaming at 1.2 Carmella's. Like Carmella on, like, barbiturates.
She'll do how the $1 Million Man is with waving money in his opponent's face to lose. She will be, like, on her knees, screaming and crying and pissing and shitting. And that is her strategy for winning.
Just really trying to summon Cosmo in for an interference here, and in case it's not clear, she is a cowardly heel. Cosmo refuses to be her manager, he is functionally so.
He is also a cowardly heel.
A fellow cowardly heel, yes.
Whereas she tries to invoke pity in others. I think if he were a competitor, we didn't list him, but, I'm thinking now he probably absolutely could be a competitor. He will try to deflect blame.
Mm-hmm.
Try to get people angrier at others than at him.
Now, a lot of times...
And just lie, and lie, and lie, and lie.
And lie again. Now, a lot of times in the old fisticuffs, as you can tell, there's a lot of intentional routes you try to find for, finding heat, finding ways to irritate people, finding ways to get villainous
Heat in
backlash
wrestling.
from audiences.
I don't know that we mentioned it. Heat in wrestling is how I guess it is now known to be a more universal term, but heat traditionally has meant acrimony, fan acrimony.
Yeah, fan acrimony, preferably the type that manifests in audible ways from your live audience as well.
Like when you see the bad guy doing the bad things and you start screaming, "We fucking hate you." That's heat. That's heat. You look for that. Yeah. You want that to build.
Like you watched the original sci-fi war crime of Alderaan blowing up, and that got old Vader some heat.
Mm-hmm. Heat can also refer to a disagreement between two wrestlers backstage, or like two wrestlers have heat. Oh
yeah, that's just them sort of overusing the language in between them for like personal stuff. These people need to go outside more. So the reason we bring this up is that she probably came in as a face, and it probably did not work, but someone said, "Hey, because we have Sakura Haruna in here."
And she has what is referred to as nuclear heat. No one on this fucking promotion is as despised universally as she is.
And whenever they want free booze at any point, she just goes on about shipping for maybe 10 seconds, and the booze just rained out. And she can make fans by winning, by losing, by appearing, by skipping matches. It's just magic.
People just... It's not even go-away heat. They're intoxicated by how much they fucking hate her. They want to see more of her so that they can hate her even more.
They want to come back next week so that they may have the hate experience again, because it makes their brain release chemicals after lockdown. And finally, amidst our singles competitors, we have Mikasa Ackerman. And if you don't know who that is, welcome to the Joe Rogan podcast. Today I'll be telling you how vaccines make your dick smaller. So yeah, Mikasa Ackerman. She has good flips, the best lucha things.
She's fantastic. Fantastic physical performer, fantastic technician. It's crisp. Can do flips like no one else.
It's crisp. Everything has velocity, momentum, precision.
Here's the problem. She cannot fucking cut a promo. She cut one once.
She got one once,
and it was pretty good. She talked about how she's stronger than all of you. And it was like, it was good. It was pretty good. It was like a solid 7 out of 10 promo, and in every video package afterwards, and video packages are like these little hype reels that they will slap together in front of a pay-per-view match, right, to sort of tell you what the storyline is. In every video package that they make, it will involve that promo in some measure.
Yep. It almost looks like the commercial break at this point. So then,
we're onto our stables now.
We're onto stables. Same concept as the men's division. These are just groups of people that are affiliated with each other. Sometimes they do tag matches. Sometimes they do singles matches supporting each other. There's probably a lot of cheating happening or cheating prevention. First, we have our face stable.
The best girls.
The best girls.
It's made up of best girls.
It's made up of best girls, yes. We have,
There's Ochiko Araraka from My Hero Academia. There's Mai Sakurajima from Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. There's Rem from ReZero. There's Raftalia from Rising of the Shield Hero. There, I threw you fucking isekai trash a bone just now.
This is the most diplomatic shit you've ever done.
And, there's, she was in K-On!
Yeah,
one of them
nondescripta Moa blob.
The one with the hair. I don't know. You pick which one it is. Whichever your favorite one is. I don't give a shit.
Whichever your favorite one is. Her role and purpose in life is to eat pins during 3-man tag matches. Really just absorb pins for the tour. Then there is.
Is this a face stable? I think it's a heel stable.
It's a heel.
This is definitely a heel stable. Okay.
So then there's a heel stable.
They are called the
They got more
Fate
heat
Blondes
than they could have ever expected. And yes, they are called the Fate
Sorry,
Stay
I got
Blondes.
excited.
It's fine. They are akin to the beautiful people, but for Fate shit.
I want to tell you, it wasn't Fate Zero, it was Fate Apocrypha. I think it was Fate Apocrypha. I was somewhere close to 10 episodes in when I realized that Joan of Arc was not King Arthur because of how infinitely interchangeable every single one of those characters is. There's a new one in every series, and it's always the same person, and I still don't give a shit.
They are on the border of Funko Pop dolls. You know how they are, close to Mr. Potato Head.
I think that is accurate, yes. So there's 4 members of this stable. There's
a saber. She's blue. She's a blue saber.
I mean, so is Joan of Arc, as I remember, who is a
Yeah,
judge.
but she's a judge, which is a saber, but it's a judge. And then, so you got blue and blue. Then there's another saber, but this one is like a brownish red, or reddish brown.
Mordred? I don't even know which one that's from.
But yeah, she's another saber. She's a darker saber.
All right.
In disposition and
is she
color.
like the one with the Santa bag or something like that?
No. That's our next saber.
Oh, Nero.
Yeah, that's a 4 saber who is Nero because you people can go fuck yourselves.
God, what a terrible franchise. All of you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Do you people understand you were like fucking bronies of fight scenes, right? Only bronies never took a steaming shot. Okay, never mind.
I didn't come here to make friends, Dennard.
Man, I didn't even come here with any friends, mostly because I'm like this all the time. But yeah, the Fate Stay Blondes antagonize everyone. They have a recurring habit of switching out which member of theirs is coming in before a match.
Yeah, 2 of them. Actually, no. We'll get to that. They will do
Shenanigans.
shenanigans. Okay, so the next stable,
The next group is called Less Than 3.
heel stable from Hell.
From Hell. They love everything. The belts, their opponents, the WHW fans. They'll do anything for any of them. Anything.
This is a slightly smaller stable of only 3.
3 hammers.
3 hammers. You've got Himiko Toga, you've got Gasai Yuna, and you've got Misa Amane.
In case it's not clear,
and they all brought box cutters into the ring.
In case it's not clear, this is a Yandere heel stable. And every month, one lucky babyface has all the admiration they can handle.
Oh no.
You just look so stressed at that title. It's okay. I'll share your burden.
No, that's her. Oh shit! Why don't you want me? Alright.
Also, to be in Less Than 3, you have to be able to cut a fucking promo.
You do. You have to be good at it too.
Yeah.
So, if any of you have ever watched Victory Gundam,
fucking legendary.
Do you know who the Shrike team are, and you know of their fate, and they would be a stable. They would show up to take pins.
They would.
Moving on.
Yes.
The executive branch.
The executive branch is, I would call them tweeners that just look glancing at this list.
I would actually call them a, like Attitude Era-esque babyface faction.
I can dig that. Yeah. Okay, so faces with an edge to them.
The theme here is that they're student council presidents.
Yep.
So we've got Marie from the underground student council president from prison school. Again, one of the funniest goddamn things I've ever read. Please
Fucking
read
amazing.
it. Please read it.
The Crow Master.
The Crow Master. You have Satsuki of Kill la Kill. You have Kaguya, the vice president from Kaguya-sama Love is War, and you have Shizune from Kadoa Shoujo. Intense as ever.
And you have these 4. Each of them says that they're the leader of the stable.
It's hard to gauge which one of them is correct. I think they might all be correct in some way.
They have the most breakup false flags this side
of
Los Ingonables.
It's almost a strategy for them. They'll pretend that they are feuding within their group so that someone can try and sneak in and exploit their weakness, and then that will have been the plan all along.
Followed by kendo sticks. And finally, joining our Shrike team, we have some singles enhancement talent. Enhancement talent are jobbers, people who are
Jobbers.
lose.
They lose. We've been over it.
It do be like that sometimes.
The first one, Hyatt of Excel Saga, who just bleeds and bleeds and bleeds and bleeds and bleeds.
Really, just if you need someone to sell your finisher, maybe too much, it's her.
She will, like Seth Rollins, sell your shit. She'll look like you fucking killed her.
Yep. Then, in terms of our great sellers, perhaps too much, Darkness, who will not only take bumps, who will not only take big bumps, but she will take bumps that no one asked her to.
After the match is over,
You'll hit her with a submission move, and as soon as you let go, she will throw herself off the apron.
After the match has concluded and she has lost,
And you are a babyface.
She will blade herself. Which is to say, cut a place that is not going to be that debilitating of an injury, but will bleed a lot. The forehead is a very popular place to do this.
As a cinematic addition to the match and the crazy damage you're taking in these wrestles.
Done far more sparingly these days than it was in years past, but it is still occasionally done.
Especially if your name is Cody Rhodes.
Mm.
In which case, it is, I think, part of her moveset.
Roman Reigns has been known to do it quite a bit.
Good on him. Or bad on him, I don't know how, whatever. Arma.
Or Alma. Do you care?
Do we care? I don't care.
No, you don't. Like,
The point is, she's from X-Arm. And she is here to lose. That she is born losing. She was a homegrown talent. There was a lot of pre-premiere hype, like, she's gonna make the promotion, and she just comes in, and it's like the Shockmaster on steroids. She just stumbled into the ring, visibly drunk. She sort of injured the other person a little.
Herself, too. She cannot work. She does not work. She tries to work, but she can't.
And every week, they just try to end the match before she does something embarrassing or dangerous.
She's probably only a couple weeks away from being released.
Released being the in-house slang for
Fired.
Alright, so our current women's division champs. World Heavyweight Champion.
Ryoko Matoi.
It's Ryuko. Ragyo spends about half her time trying to drag that belt from her. It's getting distracted to the point where you're not sure she remembers the men's division exists.
She lets Lelouch worry about that, and worry he does. I have to imagine that Lelouch, like, part of the joy of watching the show would be watching Lelouch have his weekly fucking panic attack.
Like clockwork. In the same way that you watch Wile E. Coyote fall into a ravine, you watch Lelouch have a panic attack on air.
Lose his shit.
The second one of his affiliates takes, like, a chop. My plans! Intercontinental. Contributing to Ragyo refusing to basically acknowledge the men's division even exists anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Satsuki. And Ragyo is furious that she's only Intercontinental Champion and demand that Satsuki leaves her filth, aka the belt, off the show. So yeah, we're all child abuse all the time here in the women's division. And for the tag, no one's sure which two, but it's two of the Fate Stay Blondes.
And it probably changes week to week. Like, probably two of them will show up with the belts who didn't have it, last week. Like, there are four members of the stable. Like, one of them, or two of them will have it 1 week. Yeah, technically, there are four members of the stable. Two of them will have it 1 week. The second two will have it the other week. And no one will actually have noticed that it's not the same two wrestlers.
During, one or two pay-per-views, they'll try to switch one of them out for an uninjured one in the middle of a match.
It might work. Just as a heel tactic, it might fucking work. The executive branch is about to capture these titles from them.
They don't care which one of you has it. They just know someone's
getting it pinned. They'll just pin you until it's the right one.
Of course, some of the spice on top of a promotion is their special events or pay-per-views. This is your, UFC number 2XXX on Fight Island. Thank you, Dana White, for... I think
Island.
Dana White has indirectly saved pro wrestling, despite being a ridiculous fucker and just expanding the Overton window of what makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, one pay-per-view is called Anime of the Season. It's our Money in the Bank equivalent.
That's where you get the briefcase.
It's where you get the briefcase, exactly.
Usually that involves a big sort of, not a battle royale, but a big match where everyone versus everyone. It's like 5 or 6 wrestlers versus one another.
There's the annual outdoor event. WCW called theirs Bash at the Beach, so ours is called The Beach Episode.
Mm-hmm.
All outdoors, some prop work, some people going through tables and bikinis that probably shouldn't be.
That's the wall, brother.
That is the wall. Then, there's our signature tournament. Middle of the year marker.
The tournament arc.
Tournament arc. It's a pay-per-view called Tournament Arc.
Mm-hmm. It is something slightly between King of the Ring and the G1 Climax.
It's like King of the Ring, but there are full-length matches, and it's round robin with no time limits, and it basically takes over the show for a month.
It's at least 4 episodes of content, maybe more, and then it is capped off with a big, giant, long pay-per-view at the end.
It's where the executive branch gets most of their breakup teasing done for the year.
Yes, absolutely.
It's where Gundam Goon breaks most of their rules for the year. There's power levels, which, lightly meta, but loops in extensive fan predictions and betting in the build-up and presentation, sort of a gambling motif. And there are no gimmicks allowed at power levels because it's all a power wank pay-per-view.
It is, what, Fox only 3-stock Final Destination.
Looks like in wrestling form.
Yes.
And then naturally, when someone pulls off cheating, it's supposed to mean more. So they do it a little more sparingly, but it's
still there.
It's still there. And then there's our Wrestle Kingdom / WrestleMania / Starrcade / Double or anything. Just our yearly, all plot lines blow off as the biggest show of the year. And so you think, you'd have bigger production values, people trying to put on their fight of the year. So naturally, there was no other choice for the name. It's called Sakuga.
This is where the production values happen. You'll, like a celebrity will be hired or two, to be there and be involved in some way. Either, the music, the actual, band playing the theme song live for one of the bigger wrestlers. I remember, at one point, Joan Jett showed up at WrestleMania to play Bad Reputation.
So I know Sawano will conduct an orchestra at ours, I guess.
God, that sounds awesome. Fuck, I would go there.
Yeah. Fun fact, generally, this might ruin a future match because it happens all the time, so you can skip this if you don't want any random booking ruined for you. But if someone has a live band playing their theme song at Mania or just any random event, they are totally gonna fucking lose. They are about to eat shit. It is the herald of failure.
It's unfailing.
I think someone ran the numbers. I think like 93.76% of the time or some shit like that.
Holy shit.
People who had a live band opening for them just got their
right,
life
yeah, that was
when
Chris Jericho's choir showed up. That was the night that he dropped the title to Mox.
Yep. That band, that is your funeral procession.
It is over for you.
Anyway, I hope you guys had fun with this.
I had a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun doing it. And it ran for a healthy length, so enjoy your commutes. Those of you who have those, I guess a lot of people don't anymore. That's a weird change.
I do.
Sam does. Sam relates. We will see you in the future. Also, I have a fucking book coming out, I guess. So.
Oh yeah, you should plug that.
Yeah, I should start plugging that, I guess. Spring next year. It's called Everything Abridged, and if you love me, I guess save $10 and buy it. Like, I don't even care about making money. I just need to make it on the fucking bestseller list. Please buy that shit. I will never ask you for a donation on this.
Once it's available for pre-order, we'll
kick that link up. We'll
make sure that you can access the link very easily.
Geez, I might make clicking the site logo lead to that page. Anyway, thank you all for listening. This has been Weeaboo Hell.
It's Weeaboo Hell.
Peace out.